So, no, I don't miss it. I'm just loving my new life and trying to create a whole new sort of world for myself after a whole adult life in the media.
You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband, I don't mean him, though I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording, and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Hello, smart women, and welcome to today's episode. And as mentioned today, I have the extreme pleasure of talking to my very good long-standing friend Juanita Phillips, and she's going to talk about the decisions that she's made in her life, some of them good, some of them really bad, like all of us, and that's what we're going to do for the next half hour. Hello.
Hello, Annie.
Hello.
This is going to be fun.
This is going to be really good, Juanita. So let's just jump in. So you've left the ABC after how long?
22 years.
And how was that decision? Sorry, if there's dogs barking, everybody just ignore them. We can't do anything about it.
I just want to say that I love having the emotional support animals provided, because I'm a little bit nervous about talking to you, because I know that even though you're a very dear friend, you have a way of getting people to reveal more than they probably intended. And so it's good to have Yo-Yo and Ryder around. Give me a bit of love.
Yeah. Well, I do have 2 emotional support groodles. I have attempted to take Ryder to the mall as an emotional support dog.
Are you allowed to have a dog in the mall?
No, I'm not. And that was quickly realised by me when the security guard didn't believe me that the dog was an emotional support dog.
I think they've got to have a tag or something.
Well, every dog, I don't know if you've noticed it at the moment, but all dogs have these sort of, what are they called? Harnesses with their names on them. And I personally find that really confusing, because you go up to the dog and one of them will say Elsie, and that's fine to pat that dog. And then you'll go to another dog and you'll go to pat it, and it's like, because it's got a harness on like Elsie does, and it's like, this is a support dog and you're not meant to be patting it. So I think it's really confused the whole issue.
That's probably why the security guard said no to Ryder.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't even have a harness on him at all. I was just hoping for the best.
Well,
anyway, so they're here today to give you emotional support. So back to you. So you did leave after 22 years.
I did, yeah.
And was that a difficult decision? Do you miss it?
First of all, no, not a difficult decision, a very long decision. But secondly, do I miss it? No, not at all, because this time I did make a really good considered decision and I was happy with my decision. So no, I don't miss it. I'm just loving my new life and trying to create a whole new sort of world for myself after a whole adult life in the media.
So what does this whole new world encompass?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's been 1 year now, and I think I spent the first 3 months cleaning out clutter and
It's my dream.
cleaning out clutter and panicking and thinking, what am I going to do next? The next 3 months sort of catching up with every single person I hadn't seen for years and years, having coffees and lunches and dinners and travelling around and doing a few little weekends away. And then the next 3 months following that was like a really sort of serious, I actually need to decide what I'm going to do. But because I'd spent the first 6 months kind of relaxing.
But you panicked at first, did you?
I did panic a bit at first. But then I just said to myself, you know what? Even if you don't do anything for 12 months, that's okay. You don't have to do anything. So I let myself off the hook. And as it turned out, I only needed 6 months to sort of get myself to a point where I could think about what I wanted to do next. But a lot of people had told me, look, you might need 1 year or even 2 years. Like, it doesn't matter, just as long as you can, keep going and support yourself. It doesn't matter how long you take to decide the next step.
I find, I don't know about you, but for a lot of people I know, and women specifically, it's actually really difficult to do nothing and not be achieving.
Oh, absolutely.
Isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
I know, because I think most of us are huge overachievers. Like
Yeah.
no matter what area of work you're in or not in, I mean, we're all doing so many multiple tasks
Yeah.
and, you know, raising families and running houses and, you know, doing jobs and running errands for people. And we're so used to having multiple balls in the air, and we get really good at keeping them in the air,
Yeah.
that all of a sudden when there are no balls to juggle,
Yeah.
you know, you do feel a bit panicky, and you think, well, you know, who am I, and you know, what's my worth if I'm not out there?
If you're not
doing
achieving, right?
Yeah, not achieving.
And I think panicking is a full-time job. I know for me, I can really, as soon as there's a little lull, right, as soon as there's a lull, I'm straight into the panic, and I'm so good at it.
And you just relax right into it.
Relax right. It's such a familiar place, right? Who am I? What am I achieving? What am I worth? What am I doing? Nobody's going to listen to this anyway. I find I just go straight to it.
Yes.
And then I stay there. And,
Yes.
and really I have to then use some cognitive behavioural therapy, which is challenging the thought. So I stay and I swim around. I quite like it in there, swimming around, panicking, questioning my worth. And then at some point I must get sick of it, because then I go, hang on. And then I remember I know a bit about the brain, and I go, I might just challenge this. And I go, where's the evidence that you're worthless?
That's such a good question.
Isn't
I
it?
say that too.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Did you make that up, or did I read it somewhere? Because I ask myself that too.
What about the worthlessness?
No, about the evidence.
No,
I know. It was a
oh.
book that I read.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was the one, you know how out of every self-help
do.
book you get just
One thing.
one little jewel, and you think, well, that was worth $35 actually. And the one thing I got out of this book, whose name I cannot remember,
Yeah.
or author,
Yeah.
was interrogate
Yeah.
your thought pattern.
Socratic
and say,
thinking.
Oh, is that what it is?
It is, and it's well, cognitive behavioural therapy uses it. So where's the evidence? So, you know, this is a catastrophe, because I know for you and I know for me, because Juanita and I have known each other for a very, 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 very long time, that we are both prone to catastrophizing, which is, of course, just an extension of being a sort of an anxious sort of person. So what that sort of Socratic interrogation does is it makes you go, hang on, in the middle of this sort of maelstrom of negative emotion, you go, hang on, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that I'm worthless if I'm not achieving? And then you may go, well, there's plenty of that evidence, in which case give up and drink wine. I don't mean that. And then you actually have to answer that question.
Yes.
Because, of course, our brains, we're very habitualised around the way we think.
Can I just interrupt for a minute? There's a chicken at the back door.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Who's that?
That's Patricia.
Is she an emotional support chook?
Yeah, she's an emotional support chook. She's not allowed to come to the mall either. I also take Ryder to the hairdresser, and she's also not allowed to come to the hairdresser. The chickens are out of control. What we'll have to do is set up chicken cam, because we put them in their coop. And then we turn around and we put them in, and David does all the fencing and everything. And then I turn around and they're all standing at the back door, and we don't know how they get out. Like, it would be a full-time job to watch the coop to see how they do it, because I think they plot. I think we put them in and then they huddle in a corner and they wait till we go away, and then they plan their escape. Also, we had ducks. And I came home one day and all 6 of them were in the dining room under our table sitting there. And I said to David, we have to get rid of the ducks now.
Oh, I think you've got to get chicken cam, because I want to know, one of them is obviously smart enough to unlatch the coop.
Well, apparently they're not smart, but we've got 6 of them, and they seem to be very organised. So I think that's the head. I think Patricia is the head honcho chookin. She's the head honcho chookin. And I think she does actually plan and organise. But then at night they just go back inside and pretend they were never out.
Well, she's clearly the brains of the operation.
Yeah, she is. And occasionally Yo-Yo has a rush of blood to the head and chases her. But all Patricia has to do is turn around and face Yo-Yo. She's the black Grudel, because you haven't got a visual for that. And then Yo-Yo backs off. So it's a real game of status. It's like we've got a little farm, except we're in the Northern Beaches. We wanted to talk today about decision making.
Love a good decision.
Yeah. And how how do we make decisions, and how valid are strong feelings in relation to making decisions? Because I think women, and this is going to be a repetitive theme of mine during this podcast, I think women are very much given the message that our instincts, our intuitions arise from some magical place, and they are always to be trusted, and that you should make decisions based on your intuition. In fact, Mind Valley, which I actually follow, is, because it irritates me, and I don't know why I do that, because I've got to keep track of pseudoscience and pseudo-spirituality. And Mind Valley as an organisation constantly posits that if you trust your intuition, it is going to serve you. And I would like to severely counter that, because I think we often make decisions that are emotional, the results of which are pretty terrible. So can you think of one, Juanita?
Gee, let me think. I have quite a long list. I would just beg to differ on one point, because I know in your book you say that actually you do believe that we do have genuine gut feelings.
We do.
And you've got to follow them at some point.
Yeah,
I think
if you're in danger. Yeah, so if I can just say on that point, because you make a very, very good point, and I do hammer that home in my books, and that is that if you ever get a gut feeling or an intuition that you're in danger, please respect that. Because your subconscious brain is scanning the environment all the time to look for danger, because the prefrontal cortex is too busy thinking about other stuff. So if you ever get that feeling, you're in a dark car park, you're about to get into a lift, you're in your own home, and something doesn't feel right and your gut is telling you, please respect that and take aversive action, because it doesn't matter if it's a false positive. The most important thing is that we remain safe. But anyway, now I've said that, do go on.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that the mistake we make, because I do believe that you do get a gut feeling about certain things, the mistake we make is that we confuse it with our emotions. So if we're in a panic state or a stressed state, we'll be feeling something really strongly. Oh, I've got to do something. I've got to come up with a solution. And so and you think, oh yeah, I really feel this is the right thing to do. Actually, it's not your gut that's telling you to do that. It's just your emotions. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And actually, I read something today, this really good quote. John Guy, who's one of my favourite skeptical critical thinkers, said this: sincerity of conviction is often mistaken for the cornerstone of truth. Isn't that great? So just because we feel really strongly or we're really convicted about something doesn't actually mean it's the right decision, does it?
That's right, yeah.
That's right. And I know for you made it in your romantic life, you made a very quick decision.
Oh, yes. Well, look, how many...
Do you mind talking about that?
How long have you got in terms of my romantic life? Hours and hours. Yes, so absolutely, probably one of the most impulsive decisions I ever made was to get engaged after knowing somebody for 6 weeks and then getting married a few months later.
And can you remember, I know it's a while ago now, but can you remember the emotional state that you were in, or some of the thoughts that you had going on when in that sort of ensuing 6 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was caught up with the romance of it.
Yeah.
And that sort of heady feeling that, you get when you first meet someone. And I think also it was because I was a certain age, and there was that underlying panic that, I'm running out of time to find someone and have children. So there was all that societal expectation going on. So, but the interesting thing is that I also had a gut feeling that possibly this was not the right decision to make. But I overrode it with my emotions, and I just said to myself, everything's going to be fine. It's all going to be good. And so I went ahead with something that possibly if I'd been at a different age or a different stage in my life, I might not have rushed into something like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and we do come across this all the time, don't we, with women. I know I speak to women constantly and they've just met somebody and they're like, I can just feel this is the right one. I just know it. Or they meet someone online and they're like, I've been having this really great conversation and he seems really lovely and I've got a really good feeling about it. And it's a wonder I've got any friends left, honestly, because I find myself saying, look, he could be really lovely or he could be a serial killer. Like, you have no idea.
Where were you when I got engaged?
I know, right? Behind my back. I turned around and you were married.
I needed some critical thinking at that point.
Well, would you have listened?
I possibly might have.
Because that's the other thing, is that our desires to have something means that we will override any of those little red flags that come up, where it might go, he's the jealous type, or he's a bit controlling, or he's feckless, or, he said he's a doctor and actually he's a wardsman, so he's a bit of, whatever it is that we hear. Motivated reasoning, which is driven by, I have this desire for this to be the truth.
I want this so badly that I'm not going to look at any of the red flags. I'm just going to ignore them. That's really interesting, because I don't know if you've seen that TV series Fake yet. But it's
about
exactly,
to watch it.
It's so good, and you'd be interested in it, because it's the same thing where the character played by Asha Keddy has all sorts of misgivings and sees all sorts of red flags about this fellow Joe, but she just wants the relationship so badly that she is blinded to all of that until it nearly destroys her life. So that's a classic example, and I think women are really prone to that, especially when you're a certain age and you don't want to miss out on relationship and family and all of the things that we're told will fulfill us.
Yeah, well, as you said, there's a very high societal expectation, is there not, that we will not be fulfilled unless we do, but, especially if you're a follower of J.D. Vance, who is Trump's running mate currently in the American election.
He seems nice.
He seems really lovely. He seems gorgeous, doesn't he? And he thinks that pretty much unless you've had children, you're not a worthy human being. Back to that notion of am I worthy or am I not worthy? So I think this idea of that the human brain, or that if you're smart, you can trust your intuitive feelings about things, is absolutely incorrect. And we know this, that high intelligence makes absolutely no difference in terms of the validity of our decision-making process. It makes no difference. In fact, smart people are better at post-rationalising their current standpoint and convincing themselves and other people that they're right. And you just have to look at really big, corporations that have made appalling decisions. For instance, the people that invested in Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. Do you know Theranos?
Yes, yeah.
Classic, very, very smart people all invested in Elizabeth Holmes's business, and it was a fake, right? It was a sham business. But she was really pretty, so men can make the same decisions. She forced her voice down so she sounded like that, and she had a polo neck on, and she looked really like she knew what she was talking about, but she was a liar. So I know I've gone off on a tangent, but we are very, very susceptible to charm.
Totally.
Right.
That's why narcissists, are so successful in our society. Yeah.
Exactly. So our capacity to punch our way through charm, if you combine charm with somebody who's in authority, we literally suspend our critical thinking. It's like the worst combination. So authority and charm, we're lost. You have to really, really apply some critical thinking and some Socratic questioning to your decision making. And I think this is so important for women, is it not? Because how many of us have made appalling decisions off the back of a feeling? And
do you know what else I think plays into it with women is that we're such problem solvers. That seems to be our job in life. And I know that with me, when I've made bad decisions, I take on the responsibility myself. And I think, no, if I do this, I can fix it. If I'm perfect, it'll be fine. I just have to work harder to fix it. And I think that's a particularly female tendency.
And when you say fix it, what do you mean? What do you have to fix? What did you have to fix?
Oh, whether it's a relationship problem or whether it's something professionally. I think that whenever you make a decision and it's not based on critical thinking, there's a part of there's a part of me anyway that thinks, look, if it doesn't work out, I'll sort it out. I can do the work. I can fix this. I just have to try harder.
I think that's so female. I think that's absolutely right. And I think that then we get into some really dodgy sort of pseudo-spiritual thinking where we start going down to the road of, the universe has sent me this relationship because there's something that I have to learn. So whatever it is in his behaviour is just a projection of my own and I have to fix myself. And, of course, it's a big heap of crap.
Yeah, probably the lesson that you're meant to learn is that you shouldn't be in this relationship.
In the first place.
The lesson is get out now.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Before you waste any more time.
Yeah, but we're problem solvers and we think if I stay here, and maybe also there's that notion that, he hasn't been very nice to other partners, but he will be to me.
Yes,
right.
That I'm different. And
yeah, I'm different and I can sort him. And if I show him that I really love him, then he's going to have really, then his behaviour will change. Well, it's not going to work, girls. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, get out. That's all I can say, because nothing's going to change unless whoever the narcissist is wants to go and spend, 10 years in therapy, in which case they can knock themselves out. But if you're in an unhappy relationship, stop taking responsibility for the whole thing because it's rubbish. It's a two-way street, and whatever's going on for the other person is their stuff and whatever's going on for you is your stuff. And in the middle is where those two behaviours meet. But I think we stay in these situations too long, don't you, trying to fix it?
Yeah, in a lot of cases you do, until you learn the lesson, which I eventually did, which was that it's better to be on your own and choose the right relationship if and when it appears and apply some critical thinking to that. It's better to do that than to be in the wrong relationship and think that you're somehow going to fix it, because you won't. It's not possible.
That's right. So that was your marriage, and after that sort of heady whirlwind romance, you married without consulting me.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. Just don't do it again. And that went a certain way and it wasn't very positive.
No, that's right. So that marriage lasted for 7 years and 3 months.
Exactly.
Exactly. Who's counting?
Yeah.
And then I was on my own for a couple of years. And honestly, I was so happy. Really, for the first time in my life, I was happy to be on my own. I had my 2 kids, and that was great. And I was so kind of ecstatic to be free to be myself.
From what? Free from what?
Free from the relationship that wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
So I was on my own for 2 years, and the whole time I was on my own, I thought, do you know what? This is the first time in my life that I can happily say, if I don't meet anyone else and I'm never in another relationship, that's fine, because I'm actually really happy. I'm figuring out who I am. I'm just enjoying my freedom. And so I was in a really, really happy place for 2 years. And then luckily, and very happily, I met my current partner, Greg. And so I went into that relationship with a completely different mindset. So on the one hand, I got engaged to someone after knowing them for 6 weeks. And with Greg, we've been together for 12 years and we don't even live together full time.
Wow, yeah.
So it's completely different.
Yeah. And as I do hang out with my partner and I hang out with you guys sometimes, I would say that you're a great couple. And
that's the situation that works for us.
Yeah.
And also, again, it's just that societal expectation. A lot of people say, oh, when are you two going to get married? Or
do people actually say that, when you're going to get married?
Interestingly, it's Greg's male friends who say that.
Wow. Is that right?
Yes, they do. His male friends are more perturbed or perplexed by the nature of our arrangement, I suppose, or our situation.
Because you both have your own separate residences, correct?
Yeah, we do. And we spend a lot of time together. But interestingly, I've never had I don't think I've ever had a female friend say to me, "Oh, when are you going to get married?"
Yeah,
my female friends, especially my married ones, say to me, "Oh, that sounds fantastic. Oh, I wish my husband would go and live somewhere else for 3 days a week. That'd be so good."
Oh my God, it's so funny.
So it's like the men
I wonder
are saying,
what's behind that. The fact that the men are, how can you continue a relationship and live separately? And the women are like looking at it in a almost with a jealous eye, right?
the women totally get it, because once you get to a certain age and you've raised the kids and you've done the housework and you've worked and you're exhausted and you just want some time to yourself. I think that's what women of a certain age really crave, and certainly it's important to me. I really need like 2, maybe 3 days a week just on my own. I don't know if you understand that, because
Sure.
I love it. I've got to have my solitude. Even 1 day is fine. But I just find that because I'm an introvert, I can't be around people and kids and my partner on a permanent basis. Like it just drives me nuts. I need to just, run away into the bedroom and lie down and read a book for a bit.
Well, what we know about introversion and extroversion, and which people often get wrong, it's not about whether or not you're social, it's how you recharge. And introverts need to recharge on their own.
Yeah.
Whereas extroverts, someone like me, I need to recharge around other people. That's where I get my energy from. Although saying that, I do like my own time. And obviously I live in the same house as David, but we do have this magnificent studio that we're in at the moment. He spends a lot of time down here, working on his next amazing project. So we do spend, even though we're in the same house, it's quite a big sort of rambling. We do spend quite a lot of time.
You've got your own zones, and you've got the gym where you go.
I go
every
to the
day,
gym,
and you walk the dogs,
and I write.
Yes,
and I write, and writing is, of course, a very solitary process. And people often say to me, "How do you do that?" Because I'm so sociable. I love it. I love that. So that's interesting. So the men are sort of questioning why you're not. And the women are like, they totally get it, which sort of makes you think, do the men need somebody around them all the time? Like, what's driving that?
Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe men are less comfortable being on their own, and maybe women are more comfortable because women are good at creating a network of friendships and socialising. I'm reading this book at the moment called The Female Brain. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
And so I'm just at the beginning, but it's saying that even from the moment a baby girl is born, her brain is developing differently.
That's right.
And the pathways that favour connection and socialising and getting along with people, they're developing very strongly. As opposed to the baby boys, they've got different parts of their brain.
It's definitely true. And I know that people say we shouldn't be making those distinctions between the female and the male brain. And certainly if you look at brain size, of course, it's the same on an autopsy, etc. But what we know is that the hormonal overlay in the brain is different.
Yeah.
And that, women do have that estrogen-fueled desire to form community. And they think it's because, if you and I are in the same tribe and I die, we've got a relationship, so you'll raise my children. So we've got much more of that tribal sense of community. And it's true. I mean, there's no two ways about it. It's not just a bit of random anecdotal evidence. Women, I know my network of female friends is a very, very supportive thing in my life. I know we have a tribe, and yet David has his a friendship group from his soccer team. But I think that the nature of their conversation is different to the nature of, say, our conversation. I know when you and I meet for coffee or lunch, we take an immediate deep dive.
We dive straight in,
Straight in.
Yep.
It's straight in.
Yep. Put the coffee order in and then straight
in.
Yep.
And we almost have to, give ourselves an agenda because there's so much to get through and we don't want to miss any, we want to make sure that there's a good amount of reciprocity and no one gets left out, right?
Yes, exactly.
Exactly right. Exactly. So it's definitely different. Back to this idea that these emotional decisions or feeling something strongly is an indicator that you should do it. I think we've landed on the idea that that's not right, that in some situations, and we know that if you're in a situation that you're highly familiar with, that you can cut through and make lightning quick decisions. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to function if we had to, think slowly through everything. But in situations that you're not familiar with, like meeting someone like you did, the chance that you'll be able to make a good, solid decision based on your feelings is wrong. Maybe he's good and maybe he's not.
Yeah. And look, I really learnt from that experience, and that carried through into when I had another big decision to make about my career. And by that point, I had learned exactly what you're saying, which is that essentially you can't trust your emotions to guide your decisions. You've really got to be strategic about it. And for the first time in my life, first of all, when I met Greg, I was really kind of, critical and strategic about that, looking at, is this going to work? And
you've done so well with him. He's adorable.
Yeah, and he is, but he's also very much like that. You know what he is like. He's incredibly clever and smart, but also really strategic and also, happy to do the deep dive and say, is this going to work out? Because, this is what I do for a job. This is what you do. You've got 2 young kids. I've already raised my family. Like, how are we going to work this out? And so Greg's taught me a lot, again, about analysing situations. Yep. And he takes an awfully long time to make a decision, which about anything, which drives me nuts sometimes. Sure. Yeah. But I've actually learnt to stop now and really think things through. So when it came time for me, when I reached a point in my career at the ABC, when I realised it's definitely time for me to move on, I want to move on, I want to do something different. In the past, I would have acted impulsively and gone, right, that's it, I'm going, and I'll just figure it out.
Trust that gut feeling.
I will trust my gut feeling and I'll figure it out. Instead of doing that, I sought professional advice because I'd been through a very expensive divorce, and I basically had basically no assets left, except for half my super. And so,
oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep. So I sought financial advice and said, okay, I'm 50 years old. How do I rebuild myself so that I can support my kids and secure my own financial future so that hopefully I can retire one day? So I took financial advice at that point, and the advice was, you need to keep working for another 10 years.
Oof.
Not what I wanted to hear in particular, but it was good advice. So I carried on. In the meantime, my industry, as you know, was being completely changed by the digital revolution. So I'd grown up in traditional media, newspapers, television, and all of a sudden everything was the internet, everything was digital, everything was social media. And it was pretty obvious that, legacy journalists like myself increasingly were no longer really valued, like our skills were no longer as important and as valued as they had been. So it was increasingly obvious that journalists like myself were moving on and taking different opportunities. So again, by the time I got to 57, I was desperate to leave, really desperate to leave and try something else.
And you were still reading the news?
I was still reading the news, and at that point, I thought, no, okay, I'll go to another financial advisor and say, right, I want to leave. Do the numbers for me. How can I do it?
Crunch those numbers,
Crunch those numbers until they tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
And he was great. He just said, no, it's not time. It's not time for you to leave. And I said, well, I have to. I can't do this anymore. I'm burnt out. I need to leave. Wah, poor me. Yeah. And he just said, well, you're paying me to give you advice, and my advice is keep working.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
But anyway, I took his advice, and Greg was of the same thinking as well. And I'm really pleased that I did. And also I'm pleased with myself because
it's rational.
The old me would not have done that.
Yeah.
The old me would have been like, I can't handle this anymore. I'm leaving. I'll just trust in, something will come up. Whereas now I look back and think, thank God I just stuck in there. Thank God I hung in and took the professional advice and made a rational decision and had a long-term strategy.
Yeah, and you stuck with it, right? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, is it? And I think, as I mentioned before, the idea that we're, probably not stupid, that we're both, fairly intelligent, you would think that our capacity to make good decisions would come along with that intelligence, but it's not true. I don't know. We'll talk about your gummy bears in a minute, but did you know recently that I got scammed with a dog book?
No.
Yeah. So I'm on Facebook as per, and I come across this thing, and it's like, is your dog really poorly behaved? I'm like, yeah, yes. Does your dog, do what it's told? No.
Never.
Does your dog come when called? No. Can your dog do tricks? No. Anyway, and so I'm looking at this, and I scrolled down, and the dog was, doing figure eights around the girl's legs and jumping over things. I thought, God, I'd love that. And my brain, like, as if I've never looked at any sort of dog stuff on television, like Caesar Milan. Like, of course I have. Anyway, and then I was flicking through, and it said in 30 days you can change. It's so stupid. In 30 days, you can change your dog's behaviour. I was like, awesome.
And you're visualising Ryder and Yo-Yo doing figure eights and sitting there.
Perfect, yeah. And Patricia the chicken. I reckon I could have got her involved as well. Anyway, so then it said, apply now. So then I filled it all out, and then it said, do you want the name of your dog? So, yeah, I do. So, like on the cover, it was like Annie and Ryder and Yo-Yo, and it showed you what the cover would look like, visual, great. And then it was like, what colour do you want? Do you want it lemon or pink? I was like, pink, it'll look really good on my bookshelf next to my own book. Anyway, and it came to pay for it, and it was $115.
Oh, you didn't pay it, did you?
I did.
Oh, Annie.
I did. And anyway, and then 2 weeks later, I said to Dog, and then 2 weeks later, I said to David, my dog book didn't arrive. He's like, what dog book? So then I showed him. He went, please tell me you didn't pay $115 for that. I went, yeah, I did. Never arrived. It was a total scam. And I was looking forward to it too, to changing their behaviour. Anyway, and then that's right, when I actually paid for it, the thing came up from the bank going, this is a scam, right? That's right, at the time it did. But I don't know why I ignored that. I thought, I don't know, it won't be a scam, it's fine. Anyway, so then I began heavying them constantly with emails, going, refund me immediately. I'm going to put you on my podcast. I've written books on scamming. You've made me look like an idiot. I tried everything, and I got half of it back.
You got half of it? That's pretty good.
I reckon that was pretty good. But how's that for motivated reasoning and for hooking into the part of my brain, right? It hooked in. And once that emotional part of my brain was hooked, the rational part of my brain, the prefrontal cortex, just went offline. It's like you with your first marriage. It's like red flags everywhere, and then I didn't care. I just wanted the book because it was pink and pretty and had the dog's name. So stupid. What about you? I win, though.
Can I just tell you?
Yeah.
This is a hard truth to hear. Ryder and Yo-Yo are never going to do tricks.
Oh, my God.
They are never going to come when called. They are never going to behave themselves.
Juanita, why are you saying this horrible thing to me? How could you say that?
Learn the lesson, Annie.
Seek the lesson and you will learn. Do you reckon I've got a chance with Patricia or not really?
I think she's possibly got more brains than Ryder and Yo-Yo.
Oh, it's so sad. Anyway, I haven't got the book and everything's remained the same. Let's hear about your scammy thing.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm so much smarter than you are when it comes to getting scammed. Well, because I ended up losing I think it was about $320. And this is the thing that you get out of people. I'm about to publicly humiliate myself by revealing that, yes, I was a victim of the great weight loss gummy scam, which was circulating on the internet probably about 2 years ago, I guess.
Gummy.
The gummy bears. At the time, I had put on a lot of weight over the past 10 years.
You've lost it now, though. You look amazing.
Thank you. That's through healthy eating and proper exercise and hard work.
Yeah.
But at the time...
Well, you didn't visualise it.
At the time, I didn't want to do the hard work. I just wanted to eat some gummy bears and miraculously lose 3 kilos in a week. Now, of course, I really
wouldn't?
I wanted that so badly. Now, that was that desire motivation.
Yeah.
So I didn't realise, I didn't know anything about algorithms. I didn't know that your phone listens to you and then starts pushing ads at you. I had no idea until a nice young man in the Telstra shop told me that. So I must have been complaining to Greg or someone about, I wanted to lose weight. All of a sudden, every time I opened Facebook, I got these ads for miraculous weight loss gummies promoted by celebrities like Chrissy Swan. And I was thinking, oh, okay. And and also I'd read all the stories with Chrissy Swan saying, I'm being used by scammers. Take no notice of them. I knew that.
You knew that.
I knew that. And
I know. And you're smart, right?
Right. So I was living in these two alternate realities.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I ordered some weight loss gummies and
were they covered in sugar?
I thought, yes. When I first ordered them, it said, get one packet for $20 or something. I thought, oh, that's all right, it's only $20. By the time I'd signed off at the end, I had given them $120. And what I didn't realise is that I had forgotten I hadn't seen it, where you have to opt out of monthly payments. So it was only after my gummy bears arrived, and they arrived quite quickly, that I...
What are they in effect?
They were like jelly. They as soon as I opened the packaging, I thought, this is definitely a scam. I opened the bottle. They were like Jelly Baby lollies, but covered in sugar.
It's so good for weight loss.
I rushed straight to the computer and typed in weight loss gummy scam, and oh my god, so much information on how I had just been scammed, and sure enough, it turned out that I had signed up for the monthly, direct debit. I think I put it on my credit card. I had to cancel my credit card and get a new. Yes, that's what the advice said. They said they'll keep taking the money. It's almost impossible to cancel it from your end. So you need to cancel your credit card. It was such a pain.
And how much did you end up giving them?
I think it was $320.
Yeah, so I could have got 3 of those dog books for that.
3 of them? Oh, and you missed out on such a bargain.
I could have got ones for you, ones for my neighbour.
I could have traded you a bottle of weight loss gummies for one of those dog books, and we would have been very happy.
And you could have waited till you got your brown Labrador and you would have been able to train it.
Oh, I know, to be the perfect dog.
Are you going to get one, a brown lab?
Totally get one. Yeah, I know. God. It's taken me 3 years. Like I said, I take a long time to make a decision now. And you know how long I've been thinking about a dog.
A lot. There's been a lot of pictures exchanged of Groodle puppies and mini Groodles, Spoodles. But now you're going for a lab that sheds.
Oh, stop. No,
okay,
don't.
No.
I know you've been pimping for the Groodles for a long time.
Well, they're in no shed and they're so smart not.
I know. Dare I say it? It's like seeing your two that maybe I should go for a different style of dog.
So mean. You know that Ryder and Yo-Yo listen to this podcast, right? You know that. They help edit it. Like, that's going to really undermine their confidence. Thanks, Rowena. All right.
Rowena?
Who's Rowena? Because Rowena and Juanita, I've got Anita, Melita, Rowena, and Juanita. No, that's right. Did I say 4 names then?
You
Anita, did. Melita, Rowena, Juanita. See how they sound the same?
They do, but you just tell me you haven't thought you've been interviewing Rowena this whole time.
I thought you were my neighbour.
Oh.
Sorry, she's my neighbour.
She also got engaged to someone after 6 weeks, did she?
No, she didn't. She's actually got a nice, long, stable marriage, so I should interview her. Okay. Well, that was just been an absolute delight. Will you come back again?
Oh, I don't know. I'll see how this turns out. I'll see how foolish I've made myself seem.
I promise. But between now and the next time, let's not get scammed.
No, okay.
All
we'll
right.
make an agreement with each other. That makes me feel so much better, though, that you got scammed.
Yeah, I know.
Because you were, be honest, you were laughing at me when I got scammed with the weight loss gummies.
I was. And also I have written books on it.
Yeah.
On scamming.
So you've got no excuse.
Absolutely none. David was like, oh, my God, what is wrong with you? I was like, I agree. I know. It's really stupid, but I wanted it. Anyway, thank you so much for coming in to my beautiful, glamorous studio. here in the northern beaches of Sydney. Patricia, the chicken, also has really enjoyed having you, as have Yo-Yo and Ryder. So from all of us, me and all the assistant animals, thank you so much for coming in.
It's been such a pleasure. Thanks, Annie.
And thank you very much to you listeners for tuning in today. I hope that was beneficial in terms of you and what you do next time you meet somebody charming who sweeps you off your feet. Talk again soon. Thanks for listening. Bye. Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, in a car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together, we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.